back to Spring Valley. This is Danny B from Danny B Trainz. We've added quite a bit in this update, and I'm very excited to show you guys the progress that we are making so far. We are expanding out of the city of Knotsville and taking things westbound a little bit. We've established an industry that's up on top of the hill where one of the other loops is, the one that does more of a snaking loop. There is some construction going on. There is signs of life all around you, places you look here. We have industry, we have more retail establishments. I really like what we've been able to do in this one. I'm going to really enjoy showcasing you guys what we've done, and we'll get right into it here a little bit. Some good drone shots of what we've done so far. Again, this is Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, so I'm doing my best to just create what I think would be a good fit for a HO scale model that is representing that general area. You can see the view as we go out of Knoxville here. It is expanding out there. There's a hill. We have all kinds of new things to discuss that we've been able to do in this one. I know the last video we didn't show you the full build, but we are in this video, so join in and let's get ready to go into this week's build as we go into episode number 5 of the HO scale Spring Valley Railroad build here on Danny B Trainz. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's get right into it. Alrighty folks, we're getting right into the build here. Welcome to Danny B Trainz. My name is Danny B. This is my second YouTube channel. If you are unfamiliar with me, I have another channel named Danny B Talks where I mostly talk about NASCAR related things, but I have an enjoyment of all things railroad, and the game Trainz 22 is my favorite game to just get on here and relax. And I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't been able to get on here in a little bit, and for good reason. In case you don't know this, while Danny B Talks might be my other personal YouTube channel, my more successful, more well-known one, I have a full-time job where I create video content for a much bigger YouTube channel that is related to news, particularly news in the Middle East, more and specifically Israel. And if you've been following any of the news recently, you know that things have been a little hectic over there. So my job has been very hectic, and I haven't had time to really sit down and think about my fun hobbies like playing Trainz 22. Now though, I've been able to get just a little bit of time to get on here and just have some fun for myself for once, and I was happy. And when I get on here and I do these different build videos for Trainz 22, I get on with no real plan, to be honest with you. Just whatever happens, happens. And that's what ended up happening this one. This is a good example of it because I had completely undeveloped land. It was just hills over here, and I end up transforming it. Now what I feel like so far, what I've done is I've made a city work around a railroad. Now same thing here, I'm just making this expansion work around what exists. And this road, for example, I brought it up so far, disconnected the railroad, and I go in and I put a railroad crossing right here, as I'm just going to take a road up here and whatever happens, happens. So that's what I'm doing right here. And while I'm searching for a few things, I found a bulldozer and threw it over there. That ends up becoming something else in the long run, but it started with one bulldozer, and that's just the fun thing about this game, that, you know, I go in not knowing what's going to happen, and I just make something. Now the way the terrain is, I decided with this road, it needs a guardrail. I realized I was doing it the wrong way, but then we put it in the right way, and that just works, because that's the one side of that road where I felt like there was more of a substantial edge, so that was the side that needed a guardrail. Now that I threw a bulldozer over there, I decided to grab a little dirt road, and I start making a little pathway that you can get to go to wherever that bulldozer is going to, because this just feels like something I would see in rural Appalachia. And while I keep doing this, I was having so much trouble smoothing out the land, and what I'd end up doing is I would create another spur track that goes into that area, because I think my plan, and I didn't get to do a whole lot with this particular part of it as much as I did the industry. It's going to be up on top of the hill. I think that's going to be like an area where it's like a little quarry, not a big quarry, but like a little place where they're just kind of blasting out some rock and taking stuff out, and just every now and again a few hoppers end up there to take out some rock. And that was my idea. Again, this is a model railroad. You can do whatever you want to with a model railroad. It doesn't have to be realistic. But to me, it just made sense, so that's what I did there, as I work on smoothing out the height of the tracks and smoothing out the terrain here. Again, it kept giving me a lot of problems, but while I'm doing that, let y'all enjoy some music while I keep trying to build. Alright, at this point I could not remember what crossing asset I used, and I was trying my best to grab the texture, but I kept getting confused by the room asset, so I had to turn that layer off, and then I was able to figure out, oh yeah, I was using the yarn crossing. So I found what I needed, turned the room back on, and I established a crossing up here and connected the road, smoothed things out, and from that point I could keep moving this road up the hill. So that's what I did in this next part right here. Now I did change some things with the road. At this point I was using the mixed lines there, but I decided I didn't want it to be where traffic could cross over each other. At that point I wanted double yellow lines because I had more of the dashed lines out in the city for most of it, but I wanted double yellow lines as we're going up into more of a rural country road right here. But you know, for right now you can see the general idea of what was happening here. By doing all this, I ended up having to smooth out the land again one more time, but that's just how it goes. Now instead of making the road cross over the train tracks once again, I decided actually let's work the road around the tracks right here. Let's say those tracks exist a little longer and it wasn't necessary to make them cross. What I did end up doing though was I raised the height of the road, and this is a pretty cool design I ended up doing here because I was able to raise the terrain on the right side of the road and raised up the power line too, and then of course now it looks like it's just floating in the air, but I used retaining wall splines to make this kind of blend in good here. So I'll let you guys see what I'm doing right here. Overall, I was very happy with the way that retaining wall came out, and then I blended it in with some bushes and grass blinds, and I'm really happy with the way this is coming out. I need to do some more detailing, put some weeds, some little shrubs or something like that, just to better blend this in. But I just love the way that I was able to keep that road at the same height that it was, and not really mess things up. Learning how to use retaining walls and rock splines is a big help for when you're trying to create more of that cliff effect, if you will. But then after that, I was ready to focus on whatever industry was going to be up here. So this is like, you know, theoretically an industrial park kind of area. I found some assets, and I thought about throwing it down here in that quarry, but I decided otherwise. Mainly, I'm just going for some construction equipment there, and there's more detailing to do in that general area. We'll do that next time. But at first, I found a steel company. I didn't like the way it looked, but then I found a cold storage warehouse, and for a little bit, I liked that. It's not what I ended up going with, though. I used a covered service area. I didn't know really what that could do, but I liked it. I just liked the look of it. Threw in a crew office, and for a little bit, that's what I was working with. Kept finding a few other assets I just wasn't happy with. Just trying to figure out what worked well. I found an excavator, so I threw that over into the little quarry area I was planning. Again, here's an asset that I just found. Didn't like it. Wanted to see if there was any use for it. But then I found a Sunoco, and I threw that over onto the right side where the road is, because I feel like that just looks like a good country Sunoco. That particular one actually has a KFC built into it as well, and just felt like that made a lot of sense up there. I lowered in the road a little bit to kind of make that transition into where it's heading into. Threw down some asphalt texture, and we're going to put in a few more, just kind of blend this in so it's not the same texture all over the place, and just kind of blend things in there. So overall, this little industrial park area was coming to life. Then I decided, hey, it's an industry. This is, I don't even know what kind of railroad this is. Maybe it's short line at this point. But I decided, hey, let's bring in some spur tracks. Let's throw in a haze bumper, and let's just give some industry to that. So we had one little spur, then we did another spur. So at this point, you could put a few little cars right into this little back area. Then I decided, let's bring the tracks over here to the other side and connect it over there to where you see it now. Throw in a bumper there, and I actually decided, let's lower the track and make it straight run right there, just because I feel like it's not necessary for all these ties to be seen in an area that's mainly concrete. Now, this part here was giving me some problems. I just could not for the life of me blend this in well, so I decided that back area, take that out, because really I just needed a straight run at a part where traffic would be going over it. So other than that, I left it, the ties up in certain areas, threw up some cross bucks, and at that point I had a good little straight running industry scene. And finally, I decided one last bigger spur on this side where I'm going to have some box cars and make this be like a box car unloading area. I felt like that made a lot of sense over here. First, I threw some box cars though on this side. I ended up changing those out for some covered hoppers and keeping box cars over on the other side. It's going to make a little bit more sense once I change out the industry, because I'm not keeping that cold storage area that you see right now. There is going to be some more changes here. I was looking for a platform or something like that, but I couldn't quite find an asset I felt made sense. So what I ended up doing, there's what I ended up finding for the new facility. It's a plastics factory, so I decided, hey, let's go with that. That actually looks really nice. So move that crew office over there to that side, and then we could start building around that. So once I had a plastics factory, I decided, okay, well, hey, let's put some box cars on this side, because if you notice on that side, there were some areas for tractor trailers to be unloaded. And over here, so I think the box cars make more sense on this side. Since I couldn't find a dock, I actually found a forklift and create a little crew scene over here where they're going to be able to try to put in stuff into the box car here. Put a little crate on the forklift and a little F-150. That's how they drove over there to that part of it. And I was pretty happy with the way that was looking. Now at this point here, I was trying to figure out signals. I'm still not too familiar with how signals work in this game, so I've got some more to learn myself. Don't ask me what I'm doing here. I was just trying to figure out what these tractor trailers were. I don't know, I guess they work on the invisible road. I haven't done as much with creating your own highways using invisible road yet, though. I need to, but I'll focus on that when I get into more building a real environment, though. This is a model railroad, so I'm not really trying to do too much of that. Did throw in some speed limit signs, because I feel like this is an area where you need to go slow. A lot of curves, tight curves, industry too. You need to go slow in this area. So again, that's why I'm trying to do the signals and stuff here. When I was trying to operate this, I kept getting red signals even though everything should have been lined up right. So again, I got more to learn about signals. In those areas where it transitions to street running versus ties, I was able to use some of these crossover areas to make it transition well, and I like the way it ended up looking there. Again, trying to figure out where these signals need to go, put them down a little bit. And at that point, I was going to focus on the parking. Now, first I was trying to go with the parking lines of the bumpers, and I just wasn't happy with the way this is looking because I'd raised the height up and it would just have too much of a shadow underneath it. In the end, it just wasn't for me, so I chose against it. I ended up going with the jointed rails parking lines that you see me use in some other places so far. Now at this point, I wanted to find a tractor trailer. I ended up going with a Conway trailer first. I felt like I liked Conway to be a good freight trailer here to go into this facility here. Add in a Mack truck. I found a Mack tanker truck I liked, so I threw it over there. There's my Mack truck. Get it set up, and then I'm going to go in and start doing lines, and I'm able to use that first truck I have as a ruler, so to speak, because I was just just free forming these just based on what I thought looked right. Ended up being too narrow, so that truck was able to help me really get it correct, and the lines come out perfect in the end. I did decide to throw in a few more trailers here. Some of them make sense, some of them do not, like that one that was for the cheese company, Borden, that you just saw. Threw an Express Direct. I don't know much about that brand, but you know what? I felt like, hey, that works. That can go there. Threw in a couple more trucks and a few trailers just sitting there waiting for a semi-truck to come get them. And just, at this point, we're just finding more assets to go in here. This area here could still use a lot more work, in my opinion. It's still far from over, but I feel like I did make some good progress in this general area, at least establishing the general flow of things up here in this little industry. Found some dump truck assets, so I did go back and throw one into my little quarry area as well. And at that point, I decided to find what else I can put in. I threw in a McDonald's here. Disregard this. It isn't going to stay in McDonald's. It's actually going to be a McDonald's that goes in back down into the city of Knotsville, just on the outside edge of it where it starts to transition. I found a radio tower and I threw it in there as well. I feel like that made sense in that kind of little hole area where it wouldn't be too much business. Now I probably need to go in and add like a dirt path for people to get over there to the radio tower. But other than that, that's about it for that part of it. Then I found a Wendy's, and at first I was putting it down here into Knoxville, but I didn't like the way that felt. I ended up changing that out to be a McDonald's, and the Wendy's goes up the hill actually, right next to the Sunoco area. So there's my McDonald's signs. First I found one, then I found one I liked better. So McDonald's is actually going to go right there. That's a newer McDonald's. I like that one. I found it off the download station, by the way, in case you're wondering. Through the Wendy's up the hill. And at that point, I'm going to work on creating the drive-through area and do parking here at the McDonald's. Now, when I'm making the drive-thrus for these fast food restaurants, I did this for Taco Bell and doing it for McDonald's, also going to do it for Wendy's. I throw in a F-150 that's in the game as kind of like my ruler. Same thing with those trucks I did up the hill. That way I have an idea of the size of a car. Now I want to do a thing where there's like 2 drive-through lanes like you see in real McDonald's, but I didn't like how different that one looks compared to the one. So we just kept it as is. There's my F-150s going around, and that's able to help me know how to do the drive-through lines. Slowly but surely we get the parking established, and now we have the McDonald's that is right next to the, I think there's a Family Dollar beside it. And at that point I am working on transitioning a little bit, and I love this rock face spline that I found. I've used it quite a bit now, and I really love it for creating like that little cliff rock, cutout rock, whatever you want to call it, like aesthetic. It's really good for transitioning there, because you know, land itself is not just perfectly smooth on hills. There is places where rock is protruding from the ground, so I really like the way that came out. Put down my dirt texture, adjusted the dirt path a little bit, and I'm really happy with the way this ended up coming out. Up next, after that, we start adding in the asphalt here at the Sunoco and the Wendy's to get it ready for all of its parking lines and getting it established. And it's kind of awkward how the texture had to be created here. I feel like it's a little bit wide, but here in a second you'll see how I transition and hide that a little bit. I feel like I did a good job of that. Same thing here, throwing in my F-150 to help me do the parking lines here, and adding in a few other things. I added in a Pepsi machine and a Coke machine here to the gas station and threw that over on the end before adding in my parking lines here. Again, this just feels like a very rural gas station to me, and I feel like it was a perfect fit for this little area that I'm started with here. There's the KFC, it's also in there in the gas station. Add in the drive-through lane here for Wendy's, and that is pretty much ready to go. Add in a little bit of mulch here too, because I felt like it needed something right there, and I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking. This feels like the start of a small town right here that's right next to Knotsville. Now I start using the grass blinds and just kind of going crazy with them, because I needed to hide that little area there, and now I feel like a better transition, especially the bush spline. Add in some tree splines as well, throw in some maple tree assets, and I feel like instantly I had that area hid in no time. Some little shrubs, and that is transitioned very nicely now. Over across the street, I feel like I needed something there, so I threw in some more asphalt, and I decided I wanted a Pizza Hut to exist right here. I did notice after the fact though, there is a little bit of a height differential with that Pizza Hut, so I could end up going in and changing the direction of everything there to make it not be so displaced, because right now there is a floating Pizza Hut sign. I'm not sure if I like that though. Same thing I did for the back of the Wendy's here, add in some grass blinds and some bush splines, do it over here next to the Pizza Hut as well. And instantly I've got this area hid pretty nicely. Now we do have those big power lines there, so I got to be careful of the tree placement in here. I did throw some trees there, we'll end up adjusting the height. Do some more grass over here, and this little hillside area next to the tracks is going to look like it belongs in rural Appalachia in no time. Maple trees are definitely my favorite in this game, I've noticed. I really like it. It reminds me of trees that we have here. There is a lot of maple trees in Tennessee, so I really like placing those, and I think it just looks nice. Plus, if you change the time of year, they are seasonal as well, so they can go to fall colors as well. And at this point, I'm just kind of going in and adding some more splines, the bush splines here. Gonna throw in some more maple trees in this general area, and I'm just doing a good job of hiding this and not just making it look like the basic grass texture, and just giving some more life to this general area. Again, I really think these maple trees are a good help, and instantly we have a pretty nice looking scene right here. Gonna throw in a white F-150 and another UPS truck right here, and we have some cars stopped at that grade crossing right there. I do need to fence off the industry over here, so I went for a good chain link fence here. and it's going to go pretty much all around it. And then as soon as I get that built around the industry, I had a really cool idea that I was able to find, so we'll pick back up when we get there. Alright, so with chain link fence, I did leave it open just a little bit right there at the tracks, and right here I connect it, and I decide, hey, we need a gate, not just open fence. So I found a security checkpoint gate here, so you gotta have like a pass or something to get in here. There's both a walking one and a driving one. Connect the chain link fence right there, and voila, we have a security gate at the industry. But that'll do it for this week's build on episode number 5. Again, I hope I can start doing a lot more of these in the future now that, you know, I'm getting a little bit more time for myself. Things got very serious very fast, my real job. But I'm back. Hopefully we can keep growing this channel. This channel is growing good, in all honesty, for a brand new channel, for such a niche thing like the Trainz community. But I appreciate everyone who's joining in to see this build as it progresses. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to Danny B Trainz so you never miss another one. And again, happy railroading, happy building on trains, and I appreciate y'all for stopping by, and we'll see you in episode number 6 of the Spring Valley Railroad. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye guys.